Welcome to ABC Interactive English. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
And today we're looking at part 2 of our story, Empty City Strategy.
Yes, and so in the first part, we just got to the point where Zhuge Liang opened the gates of his city because he knew he wouldn't be able to beat the army if they just fought directly. So he has some kind of strategy, some kind of plan, some kind of idea that he's going to hopefully be able to win without having to fight them directly.
Right, so this is a story about a military strategy. And there's another famous story that comes to my mind when I think of military strategy, and that's the Trojan horse.
Oh, yes, that is a very famous story.
Right, so in that story, it involves, the Greeks going to fight the Trojans, and the Greeks cannot get inside the Trojan city of Troy, so they have a plan, which is to make a giant wooden horse and give it to the Trojans as a gift.
Yes, and the thing that's kind of sneaky about it, and if you know the story, which I think a lot of people do, is that they're all hiding inside of the giant horse. And so they finally can get inside of the wall because the Trojans think, oh, wow, that was so nice of the Greeks to give us this giant present. And then at night they pop up and they win and they beat the Trojans in that way. So I see this is a little bit of it's almost like the opposite in a way where in the Trojan story, they can't get through the wall. And now in our story, they have the doors just wide open. So it's another type of way of somehow he's got to fool the enemy army.
That's right. So we're going to find out how Zhuge Liang fools the enemy army when we get into the rest of this story.
When General Yi arrived at the city, he was surprised by the sight. The gates were wide open. Also, Zhuge Liang was sitting on the city wall and calmly playing the zither. That stopped Yi right away. He knew Liang was careful and hardly took risks.
All right, so we are looking at part 2 of our story and fable section, Empty City Strategy. And where we left off in part 1, we have 2 armies. And again, this is in the Three Kingdoms story, in the Three Kingdom period, all of those famous stories that came from this time. And we have 2 armies, one that is led by Zhuge Liang and one that is led by General Sima Yi. And these 2 people have to kind of figure out how are they going to win this next battle. One does not have very many people to fight, very many soldiers, and the other one is showing up and seeing open gates and might be a little confused by that.
That's right. Well, let's see what he does. When General Yi arrived at the city, he was surprised by the sight. Okay, so we have a word there which is a sight. So a sight is a noun and it means something that you can see or that can be seen. So when he is surprised by this sight, it means he's surprised by what he has seen. When we use sight as an uncountable noun, we mean that it is the power to see. So when I say someone has lost their sight, that means that they cannot see anymore. We also use the noun sight as a countable noun to talk about places in a city that you might want to see. So for example, my friend took me around to show me the sights.
All right, so he is a little bit surprised by what he is seeing. And what is he seeing again? Well, the next part says, the gates were wide open. Now, if you are somebody leading your soldiers to go fight a city and the gates are wide open, of course, the very first thought might be, wow, this will be easy. But then the second thought might be, wait a minute, this seems kind of strange. And that's why it said he was surprised to see this, because he must know that the other people will know that he's coming. So why are the gates open? Well, if we continue on, it says, also, Zhuge Liang was sitting on the city wall and calmly playing the zither. So he is just kind of hanging out, not bothered by anything, sitting there playing his little instrument, playing some music, looking super, super relaxed. Probably the exact opposite of what you might think someone who is leading his soldiers would feel or look like if the enemy army was literally outside of their gates. So definitely a strange and surprising scene for E to see. And we had this adverb wide here, and it said that the gates were wide open. And if something is wide or wide open, it is open to as basically the maximum that it can be. You can say that something is narrow or skinny or slim, and you can say something is wide. But when you attach it to something like the word open, wide open, it means that the door would be all the way open, not just open a little crack.Hi,
I'm Tina. 我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的单字跟文法重点。首先来看看单字的部分。Sight 名词景象。The sight of the flowers in bloom was amazing. 花开的景象真是令人惊艳。Bloom 指的是开花。Amazing 指的是令人惊艳的。Wide 副词完全的。Rose opened her eyes wide when she saw the big fish. Rose 看到那条大鱼时，眼睛完全睁大了。我们再来看一下文法重点。刚刚课文提到了 A is surprised by B。A 对 B 感到讶异。Surprised 是形容词，意外的、惊讶的。注意介系词要用 by。我们来看看这个例句。Sarah is surprised by the news. Sarah 对这个消息感到讶异。接着我们回到课文当中。
Okay, so E has just seen Zhuge Liang playing the zither, acting like he has no worry in the world. That stopped E right away. He knew Liang was careful and hardly took risks. Okay, so now he's seen him, being what I would say is careless, or seeming like he's careless, but he knows that Liang is careful. So careful is an adjective, and it means do things in a way that you stay away from any danger or anything unpleasant or just things that might cause harm to you. So as I said, the opposite of careful would be careless, and that means that you are doing things in a way that doesn't even think about dangers or like the things that could hurt you or harm you. So if Liang is very careful, why would he just be doing things like this?
Yes, because it looks like he's taking a giant risk, which is the next word that we are looking at. And a risk, this noun just means something that could be dangerous or could cause harm. So if you are somebody who is very careful, you will not be taking risks because you do not want to get hurt or you don't want to make something bad happen or have a chance that something bad could happen. So you would not be choosing to take risks. If you are somebody who is maybe a little bit bolder or a little bit more careless or reckless, then you might be doing things that could take risks. But as we see, they know each other. And so when E sees that Liang is doing something that doesn't seem quite right, he goes, wait a minute, I know him and I know he does not like to take risks.
我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的单字。Careful 形容词谨慎的。Anna was careful when she crossed the street. Anna 过马路时很谨慎。文法的部分刚刚提到了 risk， 我们来整理一下 risk 的用法。当名词的时候表示风险，常见用法是 take a risk， 冒险行事。我们来看看这个例句。He took a risk to help his friend. 他冒险去帮他的朋友。那么 risk 当动词时表示拿什么冒险，是一个及物动词。我们来看看这个例句。Megan risked everything to start her own business. Megan 冒着一切风险创业。接着我们回到课文当中。
Okay, so we've gotten to the point where the two armies are right there, almost face to face. The two generals have seen each other. The two leaders of each group have seen each other. So it's exciting to find out what's going to happen next, but we'll have to wait till after this break.
So he had a bad feeling about the situation in front of him. Yi thought for a moment. In the end, he decided that the empty city was a trap. Once he went through the gates, Liang's soldiers would attack his army.
Welcome back. Before the break, General Yi and his army had arrived at the city, and they had found the doors or the gates to the city wide open. More so, they found Zhuge Liang was just sitting on a wall of the city playing a zither. So he's acting like he doesn't care at all, like he is not worried about this huge army which is coming to, I guess, fight him. So when General Yi saw Zhuge Liang acting so careless, that made him a little bit worried because he knows that Zhuge Liang is very careful and that he's not the kind of person to take any risks.
Yes, so let's see, how does he approach this situation? What is going to happen next? And so it says, so he had a bad feeling about the situation in front of him. And this is something that I think a lot of people can relate to. If you've ever watched like a scary movie or something like that, when everything seems calm and normal and you kind of walk around and go, ooh, something doesn't feel right. And so again, these two leaders, they know each other, they know about their different personalities. And so we have E feeling a little bit uncomfortable about this situation.
Mm-hmm. So he had a bad feeling about it. So to have a bad feeling about something, or when someone says, I have a bad feeling about this, that means that they have some concern that something bad is going to happen soon. So you might have a bad feeling about the weather. I mean, you might actually look at the weather and see that there are dark clouds and say, I have a bad feeling about the weather today. And that just means you think it's going to rain or you think something bad will happen. So often you might see this in cartoons or TV shows. When there is a bad thing coming, someone will often say, I have a bad feeling about this.
Yes, and in this case, he has a bad feeling about the situation. And situation is a noun that basically just means the way things are at that moment. Good or bad, just how things are acting or moving or what is going on at that moment is called the situation. And so in our case, we have the situation that the gates are open, they looked relaxed, they look like it's a lazy Sunday afternoon, and nobody cares that he's bringing this giant army.
He thought for a moment. In the end, he decided that the empty city was a trap. Okay, so a trap is something designed to catch someone or something without them expecting it. So you might think of, a rat trap. A rat trap can swing down on a rat without it expecting. It just thinks it's getting some food. But in this example, when someone thinks it's a trap, usually they think some people or something is hiding and waiting to surprise them, and probably bad things will happen then.
我们来看一下刚刚课文里提到的单字 situation 名词情况 This is a funny situation 这是一个好笑的情况 trap 名词圈套陷阱 Be careful, there is a trap in the game 小心游戏里有一个陷阱文法的部分刚刚提到了 Somebody has a bad feeling about something 某人对某事物有不好的预感用 bad 替换成 good 可以表达相对的语义。我们来看看这个例句。Amy has a bad feeling about the meeting tomorrow. Amy 对明天的会议有不好的预感。接着我们回到课文当中。
Yes, and so he said, if we look at the rest of the story, it says, once he went through the gates, Liang's soldiers would attack his army. This is the trap that he thinks is being set. He thinks that if they walk in, they're going to get attacked and they're going to get overwhelmed. So he goes, oh, no, 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 I don't like the look of this empty city. It must be a trap.
Right, so it sounds like, so far, Zhuge Liang has outsmarted Yi because he has made him think there's a trap waiting for him when really there's just a handful of soldiers.
No trap.
All right, well, that's the end of today's lesson, but we're going to learn more about this story when we come back for part 3 next time.
When General Yi arrived at the city, he was surprised by the sight. The gates were wide open. Also, Zhuge Liang was sitting on the city wall and calmly playing the zither. That stopped Yi right away. He knew Liang was careful and hardly took risks, so he had a bad feeling about the situation in front of him. Yi thought for a moment. In the end, he decided that the empty city was a trap. Once he went through the gates, Liang's soldiers would attack his army.
我们来复习一下这一课的重点单字跟文法。单字的部分 ，sight 名词景象 ，wide 副词完全的 ，careful 形容词谨慎的 ，situation 名词情况 ，trap 名词圈套陷阱。接着我们来看文法的部分 ，A is surprised by B，A 对 B 感到讶异。Dan was surprised by Phoebe's answer。Dan 对 Phoebe 的回答感到意外。再来整理一下 risk 的用法。当名词时表示风险 ，Don't be afraid to take risks， 别害怕冒险。当动词时表示拿什么冒险 ，Police officers risk their lives to keep us safe。警察冒着生命危险保护人民的安全。下一个文法。Somebody has a bad feeling about something. 某人对某事物有不好的预感。Larry had a bad feeling about the plan. Larry 对这个安排有不祥的预感。以上就是这一课的重点单字跟文法，那我们下一次再见喽，拜拜。
Hey, 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 it's Kiwi on the street. I'm Kiki.
And I'm Winnie. And today we are going to try a trend that I saw on social media. So basically, I'm going to make a facial expression. You are going to make the sound that you think matches the facial expression.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Sounds like it's gonna be fun.
Okay, this is the I make the face, you make the sound challenge. First facial expression.
Okay, that looks like a grimace. So you're kind of like frowning, a kind of look of disgust. Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1. Very, very good. Okay. Facial expression number 2.
Okay, that looks like a pout because you've got your lower lip sticking out and you're kind of like frowning. All right.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Last but not least, I have this facial expression.
Are you squinting? That's a squint, okay, because your face is all squished together. Your eyes are closed really tight. Okay.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. That's not what I was expecting, but it's still pretty good. Maybe you guys should try this challenge.
Winnie, you were really good at making facial expressions.
And your sound effects were actually pretty funny. But next time, I want to try making the sound effects because that looks like a lot of fun. Well, that's all we have for today. Maybe there's a trend that we can do next time. But for now, remember to follow us on Instagram and send us a DM or an email if there's anything you want to say in English and you just don't know how. Kiki, do you have anything you want to say?
Beep pop.
Oh, well, Kiwi later.